Yo, what's up, guys? Great win tonight for the Toronto Raptors, defeating the Utah Jazz 107-100. But before we talk about the game, guys, obviously some fantastic news for the Raptors and us fans. Scotty Barnes will be going to his second All-Star game of his NBA career, guys. Such a well-deserved honor for Scotty Barnes, guys. Obviously Scotty Barnes is one of the best defensive players in the league, guys. Probably one of the best all-around players in the NBA, guys. Scotty Barnes, we all know how important and vital he is for this basketball team. Such a great leader for the Raptors. Makes all the sacrifices he has to for his team to win ball games. A well-deserved honor for Scotty Barnes, guys. Having the amount of steals he has, blocks, points, just his entire game up until this point has been all-star worthy. Just a well-deserved honor for him. Now, obviously, I felt Brandon Ingram should have been going with Scotty Barnes to Los Angeles for the All-Star game, guys. Really unfortunate situation how it's like a world versus LA type thing, so they had to have a certain amount of players from the world and the Americans. So Brandon Ingram unfortunately misses out. If you guys ask me, I really do feel Brandon Ingram should be going there over a guy like Pascal Siakam. I love Pascal, former Raptor, NBA champion, of course. Congrats to him. Congrats to former Raptor, Norman Powell, of course. But Siakam's on the worst team in the East this year. Brandon Ingram's on a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference. He's averaging over 21 points a game. Brandon Ingram, I feel, should have been on the All-Star team. But nonetheless, guys, Brandon Ingram has been incredible for the Raptors. He's been durable for them, getting key baskets in important moments for this team in multiple games, having 35 the other night against the Magic. Brandon Ingram had a good game as well tonight, had some key baskets and key moments, but really unfortunate that he doesn't make the All-Star team. Just use it for motivation, a chip on his shoulder to hopefully propel the Raptors deep into a playoff run. That would be great to see as well, but really unfortunate Brandon Ingram couldn't make the All-Star team. He really deserved it, but he and the Raptors and Scotty Barnes, of course, have been playing some good ball. Obviously, the last few games have not been great for them, but other than that, I still feel this season as a whole so far has been a real positive for the Raptors. Tonight's game was a positive as well, getting another one, snapping that 2-game losing streak. Now, obviously, there were some moments of frustration in this game, especially in the second quarter. The Raptors did a really good job in the first, shooting over 50% from the field. They were moving the basketball, they were making their shots, they were really playing well in that first quarter. But then in the second quarter, the Raptors just deviated completely off what they were doing in the first quarter. They were turning the ball over, not hustling back on defense, letting Utah make open shots, get down low in the post for easy dunks or layups. It was an extremely frustrating second quarter. You're watching Lauri Markkanen get behind the entire defense for an easy layup. Like, that shit cannot happen. Of course, Coach Darko called multiple timeouts. He was not happy with their effort. Totally understandable. Just too many times they would just turn the ball over loosely, forcing things. It was a horrendous second quarter for the Raptors. Utah outscored them by 10 in that second quarter, 33-23. After the Raptors had a solid first quarter, outscoring them 28-23. It wasn't a very good second quarter for the Raptors. Utah took the lead at one point. I'm thinking to myself, do not lose to the Utah Bloody Jazz, okay? You had just had the loss against the Knicks, the loss against Orlando after having 3 solid quarters. You blow it in the fourth. Do not do that again tonight. Now, the Raptors had an opposite second half, I felt, tonight against the Jazz. Now, they had a good third quarter against the Magic. Same thing tonight against the Jazz, but in that fourth quarter was the major difference tonight for the Raptors compared to the other night against the Mavericks. The Raptors gave up only 16 points in that fourth quarter, guys. Raptors did an incredible job defensively on the Jazz, guys, in that fourth quarter. And you had guys like Lauri Markkanen, you had Nurkic, you had Collier. Those guys were really causing the Raptors trouble with their sides, especially Nurkic and Markkanen. Obviously with Oyaka Pirtle still not being in the bloody lineup, you have Mamu and CMB carrying the workload down in the middle of the poster guys and in the paint, and they had some difficulties that time. Nurkic, this bloody guy here, he had a solid game. Nurkic had 11 points, 13 rebounds. Markkanen had a fantastic game with a double-double, 27 and 11. Markkanen really made it hard for the Raptors in this game to get stops. He was really effective down low in the paint tonight, guys, for the Jazz. Collier as well had a solid game, guys. He had 19 points, on 30 minutes, making it really difficult for Quickly. We saw the Jazz trapping Quickly a lot in the Raptors half court, really making it difficult. They got called for an 8-second violation. At one point, Jazz obviously switched to a zone a couple times. Utah was changing their defensive scheme a little bit to really make it difficult for the Raptors to read. And it was working for some parts of this game. But in that fourth quarter, I thought the Raptors did a really good job with moving the basketball, making some shots, tight defense. We obviously had a scary moment as well. Scotty Barnes with his foot there. I was thinking to myself, do not get bloody injured after you were just named the freaking All-Star. I'm thinking to myself, this would have been an absolutely unfair situation for Scotty Barnes. Luckily enough that he did leave the game, did return. Brandon Ingram carried the workload while Scotty was out for those few minutes. B.I. made some big shots, drove the lane. When B.I.'s one-on-one, man, and he's got that matchup that he likes, he's very difficult to stop. We saw him do that a few times. And even though he only had 19 points tonight, effective 19.7 and 19 from the field, guys, there were some difficult moments for B.I. in this game. Did miss some shots, did have some frustrating moments. I hope it wasn't because of the All-Star snub affecting him a little bit, but did some really good things in that fourth quarter to seal the win for the Raptors. Quickly had some good shots as well, having 17 points tonight, guys. RJ had a solid game with 21 points on 7-9 shooting. You had Mamu coming off the bench with 17, so you got some good production from Mamu. Jacoby had some decent minutes, only playing 17, having 7 minutes. Grady didn't play very much, only playing 10 minutes, no points tonight. Jamal, 19 minutes, 5 points tonight, guys. Jamal drawing charges, drawing fouls. That's what we love seeing Jamal Shed do. And then Scotty Barnes as well. 14 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks. Like I said before regarding Scotty, just doing everything it takes to win in this league. Scotty Barnes just embodies all of that, guys. Love what Scotty does for this team. Such a great player, and he's only getting better with time. It's his 4th year in the league. He's only going to mature more and more and more, and having a guy like B.I. there to spread the floor for him and open it up, man. B.I. has really helped the Raptors this year, just spreading the floor, opening up the offense. B.I. being a lethal scorer that he is, has dramatically helped this team to be at 30 wins already, guys, on February 1st, compared to last year winning 30 in total. It's great for us Raptor fans, to see this team progressing in the right direction with a win tonight after those 2 bad losses. There's going to be growing pains with this team, guys, but, the response that they had tonight, there were some scary moments in this game, but I felt the Raptors did a good job responding, battling back in this game, and finding a way to seal this win and beating the Jazz. Shooting only 41% from the field. That's obviously not fantastic numbers. Jazz shot 36%, so credit to the defense there. 32% from 3. When is this team going to start getting a bloody shooter, for God's sakes? Or start making their bloody shots in general? Utah shot 23%, so that's a testament to the Raptors improving on the perimeter defense compared to the other night against the Magic, where they absolutely just torched the Raptors from the 3, guys. But look at the Jazz. 67 rebounds compared to our 50. 17 more rebounds compared to us. You knew the Raptors were going to have a tough time with Markkanen and Nurkic tonight, but good job by them to find a way to get the win. 18 offensive rebounds for the Jazz compared to our 13. We had 22 assists compared to their 20. 10 steals each by both teams, guys. Jazz had 24 turnovers. We had 19. Both teams turned the ball over a lot in this game. Did not take care of the basketball in this ball game, guys. 48 points in the paint for the Jazz compared to our 36. So you knew the Jazz were making it a point to get points in the paint, draw fouls, throw it to the big men. The Raptors would have some difficulties, as they did, but really good job getting the changes that they made and really making the changes that they had to find a way to win this game, And then look at Utah, 22 second chance points compared to our 8. That is a lopsided difference. But then once again, us being the best fast break team in the NBA, having 19 fast break points compared to Utah's 9. When the Raptors get stops on defense, they are so dangerous in transition. We saw it again tonight. Great job by the Raptors getting stops, and then 26 points off turnovers compared to Utah's 15. So making the Jazz pay for their mistakes tonight. Raptors did a good job making them pay for it, guys. Finding ways to get their buckets tonight. Good job by the team. And then Just a solid defensive fourth quarter, like I mentioned. You're on a 5-game homestand right now. You got to play the Minnesota Timberwolves next. You got Anthony Edwards coming to town. That's going to be a very, very difficult matchup for the Raptors, but this is a good start to the homestand. Getting this win tonight, guys. We'll love to hear your thoughts and opinions. A difficult matchup coming up next against the T-Wolves. We'll see how the Raptors do in that game, guys. Love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this one, guys. So click like if you like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Go Raptors, go as always, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Raptors Unfiltered. Ciao, guys.